The very simplistic, high overview of the difference between the historic Lutheran Calvin view on justification by faith and the Catholic view is this. Protestant view, justification is an act of faith, accepting the legal accounting, declaring, crediting, imputing to the sinner's account the sinless righteousness of Jesus without any work on the sinner's part, while the sinner remains just as sinful as before. It is a point event in time and cannot be undone except by the loss of faith. It is a legal declaration, no change in the person whatsoever. The Catholic view of justification is like this: a change in the inner man accomplished by the grace of God plus the works of the believer. Thus, it is a process happening over time, not a point in time. In this view, the sinner is born with original sin, and the sinner can be moved from a state of condemnation to a child of God, justified only by baptism by the church, and later by faith plus the sacraments. Thus, the sacraments of baptism, penance, and mass are controlled by the church and are gateways to justification. Historically, the Roman Church had come to the point in history where they held people hostage. But to the authority of the church institution, salvation was dependent not only on a trust relation with Jesus alone, but a combination of faith in Jesus and works controlled by the church to include penance, baptism, mass, indulgences, and some other things. Further, salvation could be attained through purging the wickedness after death in a place called purgatory. And in purgatory, the wickedness would be purged from them and people would be launched into heaven. And you could shorten the time that your deceased loved one spent being purged by giving money to the church, and you would get a writ, and that writ would diminish the amount of time your loved one had to be purged, and they could be launched into heaven sooner. Martin Luther and the Reformers saw the corruption in this system and protested against it. Protestantism, protestations. In so doing, they moved people toward a better understanding. However, their understanding and teaching was still predicated on human-imposed law construct, already deeply rooted in the Catholic system. Thus, while it was moving away from the institutional authoritarianism and arbitrary works, it did not actually come to teach what true justification actually is. Instead, it set up another theological construct based on a false law. Truth is unfolding. Those who cling to the penal substitutionary view of the early reformers cling to a view which freed the reformers from the domination of the institutional system. However, it did not free them from the domination of selfishness and fear, nor the view of God as the inflictor of punishment for sin. That view is still held. The penal legal view has a form of godliness, but no power. This is what Paul was prophesying about. Now, I'm going to read to you from the online Catholic Encyclopedia, which is going to help us see from their side of it the difference between the Protestant view of justification and the Catholic view of justification.